Hello, everyone, and welcome to another match reaction show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie, and I'm your host for this evening. After 24 hours of assessing the match, still annoyed with the result, but let's just say on record, Liverpool unfortunately lost in the Carabao Cup Final against Newcastle, which ended 2-1. So, a lot to discuss today in terms of the aftermath of that game. But firstly, what I'll do is congratulate Newcastle. I think they thoroughly deserved the win. Liverpool were quite shocking in terms of how they performed. They were nowhere near to their level at all. But what we'll do a quick analysis of the game. Where I'll mention some of the key points, and then there's other areas that I feel like needs to be discussed, especially with me sort of not doing a match reaction straight away after the game. I've taken time to see what other content creators and what else has been circling online. And there's a few things that I feel like have sort of rattled the feathers for me, which I'll address in the show. So, in terms of the match, awful start from Liverpool. Uh, Pretty much it was all Newcastle. They dominated the middle of the park. They won all their battles. Liverpool were pretty much second best in everything. Not a lot of chances created from either team. Newcastle had a shot through Tonali that missed the target. You had Isak with a header that was blocked by Robbo, and then you had Trippier on a rebound. Robbo makes a double block there. And then you had Dan Burn producing a header from a corner, which was caught by Kelleher at the time. Big talking point, though, probably not spoken to from anyone but Liverpool fans, but let's just address it, was the penalty shot where Trippier handballs the ball inside the area whilst he was in a duel with Luis Diaz. Now, for me, bias aside, I actually do think that was a penalty. He's clearly used his hand to obstruct the ball from Diaz's path. Now, the commentators were saying it's definitely not a penalty, but in Europe, it would have been given. So the rules aren't that different from Europe and England. So, for me, agendas will agenda in that situation, especially when you've got biased commentary from Sky Sports. But Liverpool got hit with a huge blow before half time. As Dan Burn produces a bullet header to give Newcastle the lead, the crowd, as you can imagine, went berserk. Questionable marking from Liverpool, but you can't take nothing away from the header. Liverpool did produce, I say, a half chance. It wasn't really a great opportunity, and pretty much summed up Liverpool, where Diaz produced the pass with his inside the box towards Jota, headed it down towards Jota. Jota, I'm not sure what he was trying to do, has a snapshot and gets it completely wrong. Goes wide. That was literally our first effort towards the goal, not even on target, didn't even hit the target. That's how poor we were. We were creating zero chances in that first half. And in the second half, Newcastle actually scored a goal through Isak. But fortunately for us, it was ruled out for offside. And that was only because Bruno Guimaraes was blocking Kelleher's path there. So there was a bit of obstruction there. But Isak was onside. So, you never know if those moments it could have been given. But Isak gets the second goal of the game with a great finish into the bottom corner. After that, Liverpool tried to make things happen. A few substitutions. We brought in Darwin Núñez. We brought in Case Jones. We brought on Harvey Elliott, Chiesa. So we brought in a few players to try and switch up for us, but I don't think we created enough chances. Jones had an instant impact where he had a shot towards goal that was carried away behind the goal by Nick Pope, and then Robertson had a shot where he drove inside the box, blocked by Joe Linton. That guy was literally celebrating everything. Any block he made, he's giving the fist pumps and all sorts. Yeah, he was on one yesterday. Um, Isak had a chance with a correct finish that was played away by Kelleher. For me, just Liverpool just did not create enough. And the goal that came from Chiesa, great touch, great left foot finish. Not sure why there's such a long sort of review by VAR. It took forever. It was clearly onside. There was no other fouls taking place in the game. Really frustrated me because I feel like they were just trying to deny Liverpool any glimmer of hope. So much so I said the F bomb on my live watch along, which yeah, you don't normally hear me swear, but I was quite agitated in that show. And it was just yeah, that really annoyed me. And we had a few minutes to try and rectify or try and get an equalizer, but let's be honest, that goal from Chiesa was one of those moments where you know we were lucky to get that goal. It was a good finish from the Italian winger. Generally, we didn't deserve anything from that game. We were so poor, and that's the disappointing thing for me. Finals are one of those things where even though we were the strong favourites, there is a chance of losing the final. It's just one of those things where depends on the team, depends on a number of factors. And I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not here to do that. But of course, us playing through extra time and penalties against PSG definitely took its toll on the team. But my big question is, why haven't we rotated the squad enough? In the last couple of weeks, we've had chances to rotate the squad, but Arne Slot has stuck to his guns and played pretty much the same team in every fixture. And I feel like that's something that he'll look back and regret because we could be in a different situation right now. But we'll talk about that in more detail during the show. But what I did want to speak about was Mohamed Salah. Now, Salah was pretty much anonymous in this game. Let's not be around the bush. I'm one of his biggest fans. But he was quiet. He was very rarely involved in anything in that game. Of course, didn't have the best of performances against PSG. But my sort of annoyance about Salah being the topic of conversation right now is the sort of the online abuse that he's receiving for not performing, I'll do that with quote marks, against PSG and Newcastle. People saying that he shouldn't be in the contention for Ballon d'Or and believes the likes of Rafinha and Mbappe are ahead of him in the queue because they've been decent in the last 2, 3 games. Now, for me, that's a bit of an outrageous comment to say. You can't just base on other players' recent games and thinking, oh, he deserves to be in the Ballon d'Or, whether they score a hat trick or not. That's irrelevant. Salah's been doing this consistently all season. Now, in terms of his Ballon d'Or chances, of course, they're probably reduced now because he's out of the Champions League. And I generally feel like the Champions League is what defines the winner of the Ballon d'Or because it's an award for the best player in Europe, pretty much. So if you're not winning the European title, then it's very unlikely you get that award unless you do something absolutely sensational in your domestic league, which Salah is doing. But there always seems to be a dark cloud on Salah's name for whatever reason. I'll say out loud, it's probably due to where he's from and maybe his religion as well. You know, some will say that's just me trying to make an excuse for him. It's not. He's never really been in contention for the Ballon d'Or when he's been sensational over the years. And that's not me saying it as a Liverpool fan. Just check the numbers. The numbers will talk for itself. So there's always something around Salah where I don't feel like he deserves the credit that um, he should receive, in my opinion. So for me, that's been a bit of an annoyance from sort of listening to rival fans that are, disregarding Salah and his efforts this season. Some guy I saw, I don't even know who he is. I saw online just before I came on the show, referring to him as Egyptian Townsend. Like, come on now, stop being stupid. People just come up with all kinds of like stupid comparisons, stupid names just to get clickbait views and all that sort of stuff. Like you've got zero football knowledge. So obviously I try and annoy people and ignore people like that, but it came to my attention and really annoyed me. But let's say something else as Liverpool fans. Mohamed Salah shouldn't be the one getting all the goals. We have other attackers in this team. At the start of the season, I was definitely one of them. I said it out loud. I think we've got the best attack in the league. And when I say attack, I'm not just talking about the front three. I'm talking about the front six, and I'm talking about all of the players. I'm talking the likes of Diaz, Gakpo, Nunes, Jota, Salah, Chiesa. I was saying toe for toe. No one's rivaling us in the league. But our attackers in the last couple of months, I would say, have really let us down. And if Salah's not scoring, he's getting the blame. But why is he getting the blame? The other players need to contribute. The only attacker that has contributed is Gakpo. But unfortunately for him, he's been injured for the last 2, 3 weeks. So he's not been able to play any part in our recent games. But Diaz, he's a player that scored once in, I think, 10 or 12 games. Jota, pretty much the same kind of style. He's only scored once in God knows how many fixtures. And those two players need to be spoken about, if I'm being honest with you. Jota, for me, just does not look like the same type of player that we've gotten used to over the years. Diaz, I think, is one of those players that has a very small purple patch, and after that, he's not really contributing. And he'll do stuff that's easy on the eye, but if you're not getting goals and assists and you're not contributing to the team's success, for me, it's a bit of an issue. If you're playing as a left winger, scrap that. He's been playing false nine as well, so he's been playing more centrally. So if he's not getting any return in that position, then that's a huge question mark as well. So that's a concern for me in terms of our attackers, and it has been for the last couple of months. Darwin Nunes, for me, has zero impact yesterday, but people still want to chant his name like he's that guy. That irritates me as well. Chiesa, now he comes on and scores the goal. Big question is, why hasn't he been given chances to play? Gakpo hasn't been fit for the last couple of games, but Arne Slot still decides to put him on ahead of Chiesa. I mentioned this in my match preview for the Southampton game. Why wasn't he involved? In my match preview, I came up with a lineup that was strong, but it was rotated. So you had the likes of Chiesa on the left wing, Harvey Elliott playing in that game, Darwin Núñez leading the line, just to refresh the team, but still have enough quality to beat Southampton. Southampton are 20th in the league. Are you telling me these players can't beat a team that's bottom of the table? Come on. Let's not beat around the bush. That's false narrative right there. So for me, the Southampton would have been a great game to play Chiesa, to give him some minutes under his belt, to find a bit of rhythm, to try and improve his match fitness. So when he's coming through into his games against the PSGs and the Newcastle games, he's fresh, he's ready. Now he came on against Newcastle, still scored, but then you could tell that he wasn't quite there with his first few touches, but he finally got himself in such a great position to use an instinctive touch and finish. And that's what differentiated him from other players in the team. He's a great finisher in front of goal, but he's never been given a chance. Now, I mentioned the likes of Luis Diaz and Jota. They've had terrible records in the last 2 or 3 months. Why hasn't Chiesa been able to have some sort of involvement in our teams? Ramos off the bench. I'm not even saying he should start every game, but hasn't even come off the bench. Chiesa is a player that is capable of playing on the left, on the right, as a number 10 or as a number 9. So why hasn't been given an opportunity to play in those positions? It bewilders me. But obviously, the answer is written on the wall. Slot does not rate the player, doesn't favour him in any bit or shape or form. But you have to question the coach. I don't think that was a Slot signing. I think Chiesa was signed by Richard Hughes. But despite that, it doesn't really matter who signed the player, because I guess we'll never know to some extent. But if you've got a player in the squad who's fit, because I don't want to hear people say, "Oh, he's still getting accustomed to the league," blah blah blah. Since the Plymouth game, he's been fit. He hasn't been injured once, so he has been available. So rather than put him out in the cold just because he had a poor game, and let's be honest, a lot of players had a poor game in that fixture. Why not utilize him? Why not use him in rotation for Mohamed Salah, or in rotation for Luis Diaz or Gakpo? because Salah right now, of course, he's fasting. I'm Muslim, so I'm fasting as well. So I have to give him huge credit because a lot of players they don't need to fast whilst they're playing, but Salah chooses to do it, and fair play to him. Of course, you have to respect when someone takes the religion very seriously in that manner. But then Arne Slot should be a bit more calculated. He should have thought, you know what, I can't play Salah full 90 minutes. Let me play him an hour and then bring on Chiesa for the last half an hour. At least if Salah can be impactful in the first half or the first opening hour of the game, you know, rest him so he's able to compete and play with more energy in that next game. He's been playing 90 minutes on a regular occurrence, but he hasn't been rotated. That's the reason why we bought Chiesa, was that not? We've never had a backup for Salah until this season, but the coach refuses to play him in games where I feel like should have been utilized. And he's not like a one-dimensional player. He's a player that can literally play in multiple positions. So for me, I think Arsenal's got that wrong. I really do. Another player that he hasn't played much in recent week is Harvey Elliott. Now, he showed his quality yesterday. I've been saying it for large parts of this season. Elliott needs to be utilized a lot more, especially against teams that play the low block, which is probably 80% of the teams that we go up against. Now, he got the winner against PSG, having a great impact off the bench. He should have started that game against Southampton. Look at the PSG team. I think 7 or 8 players were rotated for their fixture against Rennes in Ligue 1. We pretty much played the strongest team possible. And I was very surprised by Arne Slot's comments in the press conference for the Southampton game, saying every game is a final. Yeah, you can say that out loud, but your lineup didn't have to reflect it. For me, you should have been a bit more calculated and rotate your squad. Your second 11 is not a bad team. There's still a lot of quality in the squad. He's making it seem like we've got a terrible squad. We've actually got one of the strongest squads in the league. That's why when I did my preseason predictions, I said Liverpool were going to finish second because I feel like we had a better squad than Arsenal and than any other team. I thought Man City were way above us. Obviously, that Rodri injury impacted their season. So for me, I've been disappointed that Harvey Elliott hasn't been involved. Yesterday was just a good sort of evidence to show that when he comes on, that's what he brings to the table. He might not be the quickest, he might not be the strongest, he's not going to run and press from the front like Szoboszlai does, but he does bring something else to the team, and that's creativity in that final third. That goal for Chiesa came from Harvey Elliott's through ball. He's the one that provided the assist. He can do that. He can come on and impact games. Why he hasn't been utilized enough is beyond me. And that's something we have to address because, we can applaud Arne Slot in his opening season and say whatnot. But I think he's shown a bit of naivety in his tactics. And unfortunately, some of his inexperience has shown as well in the last 2, 3 weeks. I'll give you an example, the PSG game. Now, a lot of the players that were taken off were penalty takers. McAllister was on a yellow, so you're thinking, oh, let's not risk him in case he gets a second yellow. But at that stage, I'll be brutally honest, guys. I'd rather keep him on. If he gets a second yellow, so be it. But he's a penalty taker. I need to have him on the pitch. So Bosley, a penalty taker wherever he's been, and has a great conversion rate as well. He got taken off in the second half of extra time. So you had players like Nunes, who apparently does have a good record as well, but didn't look like he was confident. Curtis Jones not really known for being a penalty taker. Gakpo was brought on, but didn't really score or didn't really take a penalty. I don't know if he was fourth, fifth choice. Maybe he was, but the players that came up for me just weren't the players that you wanted to start in the penalty shootout. And I don't want to go back in time and reference other coaches, but Jurgen Klopp would have kept some of those players on. He would have kept those penalty takers on the pitch because you have to think ahead. Extra time, you don't normally concede goals. Of course you do, but if you're compact and tight as a team, because we don't really need to go on attack, we can just hold our ground and just try and avoid conceding a goal in order for the penalty shootout to take place. That never happened. So that's the naivety there in terms of tactics. And also not rotating the squad for Southampton for me has played a big part in our downfall this week. The PSG game, we looked tired. against Newcastle, we looked absolutely shattered. And I'm talking about from the opening minutes. I'm not even talking about as the game went on. It was very evident we had no energy whatsoever. We were so lackluster. It was one of the poorest performances I've seen in a long time, especially in a cup final. Yeah, we have to say it's one of the worst performances in recent times because this team, doesn't matter who we're up against, we're always going to give our all. But yesterday, we were just losing all sorts of battles on the pitch, whether it's aerial challenges or in the middle of the park or set pieces. We were scared to death when it came to set pieces or anything in the air towards the box. It was quite shocking. So it's disappointing. And also, from a tactical point of view, this season, I feel like Slot needs to trust his squad a little bit more. He hasn't probably last few weeks with the likes of Endo being included a lot more, but I don't think that's enough. You've got players like Chiesa, Elliott that have the quality, they need to be utilised a little bit more. They might not be your favourite players or your, you know, cup of tea or elite players or however you want to phrase it. You've got to utilise your squad. You've got to manage other players' minutes. And if you're not able to communicate that to your star players, then you're not an elite coach. I'm not saying his answer isn't because what he's done this season is spectacular, despite what any other ever fan or rival fan tells you. What we're doing in our first season under Arne Slot is still remarkable. First season is on the verge of winning the Premier League title. Yes, I know when we started the season, um, we kind of managed our expectations and we were expecting the team to just challenge for top four. But as the games went on, we really, showed our quality. We were competing in all competitions. You know, fans, content creators like myself mentioned the quad. Yeah, of course I did. I'm going to mention the quad because we were in all four competitions. So I didn't say we're going to win the quad. But I'm like, look, we have a chance. So why not? And in the space of a week, we're out of the Champions League and we lose the chance of winning our first silver in the Carabao Cup. So it's not been a great week for Liverpool, but we move on. We move on and see what we can do going forward. Of course, I'm annoyed that we didn't win yesterday, but we can't blame anyone but ourselves. The team was shocking and really deserve nothing from the game. From a personal point of view, I was pleased that Chiesa hit the back of the net because he's someone that I feel like should be starting a lot more games. And I really hope Arne Slot gives him an opportunity for the remainder of the season because the other guys are simply not delivering. And of course, from his point of view, I don't want it to be a win the league and he doesn't even get a medal because you have to meet a certain criteria in order to get one. So hopefully, from a sentimental place and for the team as well, Chiesa is given more game time to play. So yeah, so that's my sort of assessment of the team and the match yesterday as well. Big question is what happens now? What does this mean for the rest of our season? My answer, we keep going. No point in feeling sorry for ourselves. Yes, we've been knocked out of two competitions in the space of a week, but we need to focus on the big one, and that is the Premier League. Now, I'm seeing a lot of content, especially from rival content creators who aren't as active as they used to be, or they only do content when Liverpool lose, making a mockery of Liverpool's season, saying, "Oh, you guys were going for the quad, the treble, the double, and now you're only going to win one trophy." Well, that trophy is the creme de la creme, the big trophy, the one that means something, the one that shows you that this team has been consistently the best in the season, not losing a one-off knockout game or losing a cup final. So don't let these rival friends degrade our season. Of course, we haven't quite won the league yet, but we're pretty much, on the verge of winning the league. I haven't even checked the league table. We were 15 points clear. I think Arsenal won, so 12 points clear now. So, still a long way to go. But, we still have to be optimistic. We are hopefully, God willing, going to win that Premier League title. I don't see that as a failure. I know some fans are, I'm talking about Liverpool fans now, where they're really disappointed with what's happened. Some have even said Arne Slot isn't the guy, Arne Slot out, which for me is outrageous. Look, it's still a good season. I know we haven't, you know, won the Carabao Cup, which is what it is. Newcastle were a better team. Got to give them their flowers. Got to tip their hat off and say, you know what, you deserved it. Well done. You were the better team on the day. And there's no shame in losing to a team like Newcastle, who posed a great threat on us on the day. Of course, the FA Cup tie against Plymouth, that was a huge surprise. But these things happen. And the Champions League one, look, finishing top of the table in the first phase of the Champions League just goes to show was no advantage to us. We got the worst draw that was possible, playing the most informed team in Europe in PSG. And look, we got outplayed in the first leg. We were lucky to get the winner. Second leg, we improved our performance. I still think PSG were the better team. So, you know, these two matches that we lost, we can't be bitter. We can't be too biased. You have to give credit to the opposition. They fully deserve to get their wins. We just have to move on and concentrate on ourselves. We've got, what was it, 9 games remaining now. We're not in any other cup competition, so we're solely focused on the Premier League. So it's going to be one game at a time for us, which is unusual for us, especially me being a content creator because I'm used to doing match previews 2-3 times a week. It'll be once a week now, so it'll be interesting to see how we do. But we'll be able to rest the squad a bit more. Slot can play his strongest team now because we have time to rest and then recuperate. Whereas before we were playing 2-3 games a week, so you've got to be a bit more smart and rotate your squad a little bit more. But you know, let's take it one game at a time, and let's end the season on a high. That's what I think we should do. Try and get the most amount of points as possible, and give something for the fans to cheer about. Because right now the fans are feeling down. People are like, oh, well, what are we going to play for? We're going to try and win the league. That's what we're going to try and do. But try and do it in style. Try and beat the teams, to the best to our abilities and end the season on a high. That's what we want. I don't want to scrape through and win the Premier League. Of course, if we do, I'm still celebrating. But my point is, you want to try and leave a good feeling, a good, feel factor as you conclude the season. So that's my sort of way of looking at upcoming games. Now, in terms of our squad, of course, the contract situations regarding Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent is still up in the air. We don't have any clarification. In fact, rumors circulating today, according to Fabrizio Romano, who tweeted earlier to suggest that PSG are very interested in signing Virgil van Dijk on a free this summer. I'll be honest, guys, and I don't like saying these things out loud, especially when it's negative towards Liverpool. But I have to be honest, I can see it happening. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of Virgil van Dijk's comments about being so impressed with PSG. And let's be honest, Liverpool, from what we know, have not budged on their stance with regards to giving Van Dijk what he wants. That's in terms of salary and, you know, contract length and all that sort of stuff. So this move makes a lot of sense for Van Dijk. Now, apparently PSG are willing to offer around 800, 850,000 pounds per week. So why wouldn't he accept that offer? Financially, that's insane for a player, and at centre back even more so to receive at this stage of his career. But that's a financial sort of reason in terms of why someone should accept a move. From a football point of view, it's a very attractive project to be a part of. A PSG that have been playing some great football in Europe, and they have got some good young up and coming players. It's an exciting project. It's an exciting team. It's a more complete team than it has been over the years, and he could be the leader of this team to take them forward. So look, I'm very, very concerned about the future of the three players that are on the last 2, 3 months left in their contract, and I'm talking about, of course, Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. At the start of this year, in terms of January, I was optimistic. Big up to G. He asked me the question when we did our show a few months ago. Who do I think will stay at the club? I said all three. Now it sound like I was delusional because right now, as the time is going on, as the days are passing by, I'm less optimistic. I feel like, honestly, for all three of these players, the days are numbered. Looking at the way how we operate, we haven't been active since Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes have been, appointed at the club. Of course, Michael Edwards was reappointed, but Richard Hughes is his first position at the club. Just have this feeling that they're ready to do a complete overhaul of the squad, like a complete new reboot or restart of the squad, getting rid of the high earners and then bringing in young players to fit their ethos of signing young players with potential and having a younger squad overall. I don't know about that, to be honest with you. That doesn't breed a lot of confidence for me, only on the basis that we don't spend a lot of money, and that is our track record. So it's all good and well selling these players, but to sell these players and find a replacement for them, I have to be honest, I feel like it's a bit of an impossible task. But look, we'll discuss the topic of our squad um, in due course, because I don't think these three are the only talking points of our squad. I think we have a lot of issues within the squad. Some players need to be assessed, and we need to have a serious discussions on a few players, which is actually a good segue for me to let you know about upcoming shows that I have planned in the coming days and weeks. Uh, so, as it's international break, I will be doing some shows starting from Wednesday, where I will be assessing each department of our squad. So on Wednesday, we'll be assessing the goalkeepers in terms of that situation there. And then on Thursday, I will be assessing the defense. And then next week, we'll assess the midfield and attack. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you know what time and what day I'm going live with those upcoming streams. And yeah, feel free to get involved in the live chat. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Even if you watch the shows on replay, feel free to drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. No player ratings today. I just don't feel like it's one of those games to do that format. I thought I'd discuss the overall performance of the team and other things surrounding the result. So hopefully you've enjoyed the show. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, in terms of upcoming content, tomorrow I'll be doing a Match Week 29 review of the Premier League. So that'll take place tomorrow evening at 11 p.m. Wednesday, as I mentioned, I'll do the goalkeeper episode, assessing the squad, and then on Thursday we'll be doing the defender. So that is the shows for this week. So yes, please make sure you tune in for those. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak to you all very, very soon. Goodbye.